good afternoon, and welcome to another session with Accent Reality powered by Accent Radio. It's good to be back again. I've missed everyone. I hope everyone missed me as well. And you know what time it is. Time to learn something new and unlearn and any other taking notes and points that are necessary. So welcome everyone. I hope we're all having an exciting day and we're ready to learn. And this is your first time here, welcome. So now let's dive into today's session. So as the topic says, we'll be focusing on building permits. What are building permits and the importance, and then the consequences, or should I say the impact of not obtaining a building permit. So because of the recent development that the Commissioner for Physical Planning and Urban Development made recently, that 80% of buildings along Ibeju-Lekki area are buildings that do not have approved building permit. And what are the consequences of things like this? It is that it could lead to them losing their properties, then from turning to landowners and landlords to tenants, because those buildings are subject to demolition. So that's why we're going to be focusing on what is a building permit and why you should get a building permit. So what is a building permit? It's simple. It's like ABC. A building permit is an official permit. Should I say it's an approval from the relevant agency giving you the permission to go ahead to construct or do whatever, or to develop or put a or basically construct a building or make any development on a land. And then this is not just limited to only private individuals. This also includes government individuals. So basically every person that wants to construct a building in Lagos State, for example, has to ensure that he or she has received approval from the relevant agency, which is the Lagos State building, that is in Lagos State. So if you have a building, or you intend to develop a building or construct a building, and you have not thought of the fact that you have to take a building permit, it is my advice that you pause on whatever construction you have to do and rush down to take your building permit. And this is going to be done by the relevant agency, which is the Physical Planning and Urban Development Agency. So you might be wondering, is it only when I want to construct a new development that I have to take a building permit? No, even for something as simple as fencing, you have to take approval from the relevant agency, because basically any development that you want to make on a land you are required to take a building permit. So as simple as fencing, you have to take a building permit, or remodeling an existing structure. Let's say you've had a building on the land for about years now and you want to remodel it, you have to still take building permit. Or if you want to demolish an existing structure, you also have to take a building permit. Or even if you have a 2-story building and then you want to convert it to a 3, 4 or whatever story building, you still have to take a building permit. So you can see now that this building permit is not only limited to new structures on a land, but also existing structures that you might want to remodel, or for fencing as well. So that is basically it. And then so now let's come down to the main topic on why it is necessary for you to take a building permit, because every individual, whether you are a private developer or a government developer, you have to take a building permit. You have to have approval to construct a building. And one of the reasons is that when you take a building, when you apply for a building approval, building permit, and you submit your relevant documents, which also include the survey plan and the architectural design. That is the design you intend. That design shows what type of building you actually intend on constructing. And when you do that, that gives the relevant officials who are professionals in building constructions to go through that your architectural design and to know exactly if this building is actually safe, if it's a building that, if this building if constructed, would not cause harm to the persons living in that area or to the person actually building that construction. So that is one of the reasons why you should actually take a building. You should actually take a building permit before constructing a building. It helps you to know the defects or possible harms or issues that could occur if such building is developed. Another thing is that aside from the major fact that it prevents your building from being subject to demolition, because most of the houses, for example, that we said, most of the constructions that have been developed without building permits have a tendency of being demolished by the government, because they did not go through the they did not follow the right step in going with the development of that building. So that is another reason why you should take a building permit, to avoid your building from being demolished. Then another reason for that is it would help you to know what types of building are acceptable in that area, because there are some lands or areas where certain types of developments are not acceptable by the government in that area. For example, there are some lands that are zoned out for different uses. Some lands are for agricultural use alone, while some are for residential, while some are for industrial uses. So if you actually try and actually go ahead to seek for building permit first, this will help you know if whether that structure or that development that you want to put in that particular area is actually acceptable by the government. For example, some lands are actually zoned for agricultural purposes. That means it's just for planting of crops or farming basically, and then you see houses in those areas. So when things like that occur, it makes those buildings in that area subject to demolition. So when you take a building permit, that actually gives you a heads up or informs you that that particular development, if you want to build a house on that particular land, it's not acceptable by the government, because that area is zoned for agricultural purposes. Or if you want to build a industry company, a manufacturing company in a particular area that's zoned out for only residential purposes, when you take building permit, this will also inform you that your design, your intended development is not acceptable in that area. And then another reason why it is important for you is that it also, aside not leading to demolition, it also helps you increase the value of your property. Because, for example, if you have a building that you know that you have your building approval is there, you have it is sure. It gives you this confidence when you intend to sell. If you intend to resell that property to someone else, it gives a certain peace of mind, and then it gives that building value, because then the person that you are intending to sell knows that this building actually has all necessary approvals. There is no need to be in fear of the government coming one day to tell you that this has been marked for demolition. So that's another reason. It gives an increase in the value. And then another reason is that it helps to note what whether the building that you intend to put is actually safe. Because, for example, there are some buildings that you see around where the exit for those buildings are in very weird locations, where, for example, if there's a reason for emergency and people need to evacuate the building immediately, and then where the exit is located, if people find it very difficult to move out or things like that. So for sure, those type of buildings will not have taken, those kind of persons will not have taken building permits, because how would that type of building even be given a go ahead to be constructed? Because you cannot construct a building that is not safe. Do you understand? So that way it helps you to know ahead whether that type of building is actually safe for public use or for certain persons. And basically these are the like major importance of why you should obtain a building permit before developing any, or going ahead with developing your building. And in our next video, in our next session, we would also dive into the process of obtaining building permits, and then the relevant documents, the relevant authorities, as well as professionals that you should carry along when you intend to apply for a building permit. So I hope today we've all been able to learn one thing or two, and then I hope that if you're intending to develop a building or construct a building and you've not obtained, or you've not applied for a building permit, I hope you know now that you should definitely go to get a building permit. Have a lovely day, everyone. See you next time, same place.